You can't have a discussion around National Black Business Month without checking in with Tulsa, Oklahoma. Hello, everyone. This is Jabbar Young, senior writer here at Forbes. And in a minute, I'll be joined by Ashli Sims of Build in Tulsa. And we'll be talking all things National Black Business Month. What's going on down in Tulsa, Oklahoma? You know, the home of Black Wall Street. What you should know about your business and why you should possibly move to Tulsa, Oklahoma. All that and more with Ashli Sims. Now listen, I'm jealous, Ashli, because right now you're in Martha's Vineyard, I'm hearing, right? And you're out there doing a rebuilding and generational wealth conversation. But I've never been to Martha's Vineyard before. I think I've been invited like twice, but I've never been. What is it like in Martha's Vineyard for someone who's never been?
I honestly, it's going to sound very cheesy, but it is pretty magical here.
It is.
The weather is gorgeous, and back home in Tulsa, it has been like 105 degrees like all last week. And so the weather is gorgeous. There was a little rainstorm that came through yesterday, but I didn't even mind it because it was so lovely and cool.
Yeah.
And it's a tradition in the African American community where, you know, quite a few Black folks descend on Martha's Vineyard in August. And so when you look around, it's such a diverse community. I'm in Oak Bluffs right now, and it's a diverse community here. There's so many folks from different backgrounds. It's not what you may expect when you hear the term Martha's Vineyard. And so I've had such a great time. I'm so thankful to our partners at Brain Trust Fund for inviting me out here to talk about generational wealth and generational inheritance.
You know, now I know the people at Brain Trust because I met them when I was out there in Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma with you, right? And I didn't get the invite. So tell them I'm mad at them now, right? Because I want to go to Martha's Vineyard in August. That sounds beautiful, but I got to get out there next year, though.
I will put in a good word for you.
Yes, thank you, Ashley. I appreciate it. And listen, you know, we cannot talk National Black Business Month, and I led off with that without checking in, you know, with Tulsa, Oklahoma. I promised you that when I was down there in January that I was always going to come back and check in. What's going on down there? How are the businesses doing? Again, National Black Business Month, so I want to make sure I start with them.
Well, we appreciate that. And it's National Black Business Month, which I think now more than ever, it's a time to highlight Black businesses. We have seen rollbacks from the Supreme Court on affirmative action. There has been talk like discrimination no longer exists, like racial inequities no longer exist. And I'm here to tell you that they do. And so for National Black Business Month, we are highlighting all of the businesses from Greenwood and beyond, those that embody the spirit of Greenwood. We just celebrated our Techstars cohort 2 finishing their program with a wonderful demo day. We had 12 amazing businesses right above Greenwood in a building like right there on Black Wall Street, talking about really the future. All of them were tech-focused businesses, and they're all growing and building in Black Wall Street, which I think is us living up to our legacy. Since we last talked, we now have 324 startups in the Build in Tulsa network. So we are continuing to grow, continuing to train entrepreneurs, and continuing to fund entrepreneurs. We're up to about $5 million in investment.
Wow. I mean, that's beautiful. I mean, listen, walking around there, even down there when I was down there with AJ Johnson at Oasis and his grocery store, you can sense the energy, the revitalization, right? And again, that was months ago, still not a full year yet, but here we are in August. Is anything that people should know outside of Tulsa that's special going on within that community as a reason? And we'll get to why they should move down there later, but anything new, anything that I may have missed in these last few months?
I think that really it's about the energy, and that this is truly a movement in Tulsa that is dedicated to amplifying and elevating Black entrepreneurs. And that once we do that, when we center those who have long been overlooked and underinvested in, it's actually good for the entire community. So Tulsa, I really believe, can be a model for an inclusive, innovative economy for the rest of the country. We have, like I said, we've grown to 324 entrepreneurs in our network. We were accelerating 30 companies at one time. We will culminate the first inaugural cohort of our We Build program, which stands for Women Entrepreneurs Build. It is centering Black women founders. And those women have gotten the opportunity to not only grow their businesses, but each have a $25,000 investment in those businesses so they can continue to build. And so I think that there's just Movement begets movement, energy begets energy, investment begets investment. I mentioned that Build in Tulsa had invested $5 million in our network stores. Those founders have turned that into $22 million worth of investment. And so they've been able to leverage our original investment and actually garner even more funding to continue to grow their businesses. That's more hires, that's more contracts, that's just a better, more thriving economy in Tulsa and beyond.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, people may hear those numbers, the 5 million, the 25 million being thrown around, the $25,000 investment. I'm sure people might have rewinded that back. How can I get 25,000? Right. But listen, let's hit reset for a minute, because I know what Build in Tulsa is. I've been there. I've seen it. But, how would you describe it for those people who still may not be aware of Build in Tulsa? There are some people that are still not aware of National Black Business Month. I call Build in Tulsa, entrepreneurial world, because if you need to go to school down there to figure out they have something for you. If you have your business but you need to grow, they have something for you. If you're looking for some capital through accelerator programs, they have something for you. That's what Build in Tulsa is for me, entrepreneurial world. How would you describe what you guys are building down there? You're the managing director.
Basically, we're amplifying and elevating Black entrepreneurs. We want to make sure that you have the human capital, the social capital, and the financial capital you need to succeed. And it takes all three of those things. You do have to have the knowledge. There are some industry terms that everybody has to learn to be able to navigate this system. You have to have the social capital. You have to have others that know what you're going through, that know your struggles, so fellow entrepreneurs, as well as social contacts with those who can help you, those who could be customers for you. So mentors are important. Interacting with corporates are important so that you can aspire to have their business. And then the financial capital, it goes without saying that without a cash, you just have a really neat idea. And so we're making sure that we're providing all three of those components so that you really do have the ingredients for success. We know you have the ideas. We know you have the ingenuity, but there's a little bit of help that can make your idea a dream happen.
Yeah. You said something interesting right there, that social capital. A lot of times we look for the financial side of it, right? But sometimes that financial side doesn't exist until you get that social side down, right? How important, touch on a little bit of that. Like, how can someone who may not be as connected, but they have a business idea, they're up and running, but they need to expand their social world, that social capital, how can they do that?
I think that it's one of those unwritten rules that you have to learn. That, I'm sorry, but most of these deals are not happening in boardrooms. They're happening elsewhere. They're happening in restaurants. They're happening on golf courses and in social clubs. And if you're not part of those networks, then you miss out. And so we want to make sure that folks have the opportunity to access those social networks, that they can form a connection. How often have you heard, well, they're not a fit? Well, isn't fit just about whether or not you can connect with another person? And if you have more opportunities to connect with people that do not look like you, the fact is you might change your view on fit. And for me personally, and I want to speak to our allies out there right now, I've heard a lot about mentorship, and I've had wonderful mentors in my life. But what has made a difference for me are advocates. People who have gone beyond mentoring, people who have spoken my name in rooms that I haven't been in, people who have walked me into doors that I might have been denied. These are the folks that we need. We need folks who are not just going to say, I'm going to listen to you when you have a problem, but I'm not only going to listen to you, but I'm going to introduce you to someone who will be able to solve that problem. Or I'm going to introduce you to someone that will be able to make that hire. I'm going to introduce you to someone who could be a customer of your business. Until we get there, I don't think that we can solve social capital. And so I'm not only encouraging business owners and business leaders to join these social groups so you can make these social connections. I'm also encouraging those who have privilege, who have power, to take it a step beyond mentorship, become an advocate.
Yeah. That leads me into a great segue here, because, at Forbes BLK, this great community that we're building here, you'll see it, right? You'll be a part of this. But, one of the questions that I've been told that I always want to try to incorporate them in conversations. And so I go to my community manager, our community manager here, and Aisha Mendez, and I ask her, hey, listen, what are some of the things that they want to know, right? And one of the questions she sent me was something very interesting. It says, who is someone in the Black community that you look up to, right? And we talk about that social capital. who's someone in the Black community that you look up to that maybe is, helping you right now, even at this stage in your career?
Well, there are so many heroes and sheroes in the Black community, it's really hard to count. But I will say I am so thankful for the folks who brought me here to Martha's Vineyard, the leaders of Brain Trust Fund, Kendra Bracken Ferguson, and Lisa Stone. I am a very huge admirer of Catherine Finney. Catherine Finney has done so much for women, for diverse women in the space of VC, venture capital, and business. She wrote a wonderful book called Build the Damn Thing that we actually shared with some of our entrepreneurs in our program. And I've gotten a chance to meet her and talk to her. And I just think that she is a rock star. What she did with Digital Undivided, what she has done with Project Diane, which called out the disparities in VC funding for women, and what she continues to do with her firm, Genius Guild, is a source of inspiration for me. But there are so many. Those are just two friends that I count amongst the people that I look up to. I met more here on the vineyard of women that are just doing inspiring work, that are quietly building wealth and are now sharing their secret sauce with the rest of us. I'm impressed every day.
Yeah. I mean, that's wonderful. Now I got to go buy that book, right? Build the Damn Thing. That's what it's called?
Yes.
Build the Damn Thing. You got it. Listen, you said something just a minute ago about funding. And right now we're in a period of higher interest rates. People could possibly be experiencing a capital crunch, right? So they may have to go out and find some capital to stay afloat. I was studying a small business survey by the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, and this was about a few years ago, but something that stood out to me, and it said that significantly larger shares of minority-owned firms report that they shy away from applying for financing because they didn't believe they would be approved. That's 28% Hispanic, 20% Black, 24% Asian-owned firms cited that reason. 13% white firms cited that reason as well, right? That's a low number compared to the other groups of people. What does that tell you? It tells me maybe that it's psychological, at that point. But what does that tell you about, the process of applying for funding?
Well, it tells me we have work to do. I think that it's very apparent, and I've heard this from founders myself, that they're hesitant to take on debt financing. They're hesitant to take out loans. Everybody is scared of debt. But the fact of the matter is that's how most major businesses run. They
Absolutely.
have a line of credit. And I think the more that we normalize debt, and that there's good debt versus bad debt, and that we need to work on the process of applying for these financial instruments. And that's some of the work that Build in Tulsa does with our partners at our local community development financial institution, or CDFI. We are trying to, again, it goes back to that human capital and training. We're trying to train you, have somebody walk alongside you to fill out the paperwork. Some of these terms are foreign. Some of these terms are hard to understand. Sometimes the paperwork seems like a lot, but if you have someone who can help you, and we demystify the loan process and we destigmatize debt, I think that we can make some substantial gains for small businesses and startups alike.
Yeah. And you mentioned one thing there, right? The community development financial institutions. I was just on the phone with Carvey CEO Michael Pugh. We were talking about that, right? And then I got on the phone with the U.S. Treasury, and they have seen an uptick, they said, and, Black businesses applying, for that money, the CDI fund, right? That's money that banks are given to give to people to help them. And $7.4 billion has been awarded since 1994. And I tell people, hey, listen, that's your money technically, right? Go and get some of it. He says that it's a good idea that more businesses apply for that funding, right? Do you agree with that? And is there anything you would caution about taking that route?
I hate to make blanket statements because every founder, every small business owner has a slightly different story. But I do think it's worth a conversation that if your business is in need of capital, it is your money. It is all of our money. That money was specifically set aside to invest in the backbone of the U.S. economy, which are small businesses. So I do think you need to sit down and have a conversation with a financial professional. I think you need to go to your local CDFI and have a conversation with those who can walk you through the process and make the best decision for your business. A lot goes into that, your personal finances, your business finances. You need to have a conversation with you, your accountant, and your local CDFI or local banking institution to make the best decision for you. But I don't think you should write it off the table without some serious consideration.
Yeah. Would you advise those local CDFIs? I know there are a variety of them out there, right? But again, I'm specifically targeting black banks. Do you advise an entrepreneur to go to a black bank first? Because, historically, and as I do more research, it seems as though more black people who use that route get the money that they need and get the approval that they need, as opposed to going to a bigger financial institution. Is that fair?
I think, again, it depends on your personal circumstance. And there are great people at all of these banks. It's about that personal connection. Again, back to social capital. And so if you can find someone that is willing to work with you, I don't care where the institution is. Yes, I think that the diverse-led banks and banks that have diverse staffing tend to be a little more welcoming, and they tend to work with folks a little bit better. But I think it all comes down to your personal situation and finding someone who will work with you through the process. When we talk about venture capital funding, really it's about any kind of funding. This is a relationship. You're in a relationship with the folks that are extending capital to you. It is a long-term relationship. It could be 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 9 years. So you need to be very sure of the people that you're getting involved with before you make that kind of commitment.
Absolutely. As it goes back to that social capital, right? Before moving on, right, for the funding side, is there any grants out there, any programming out there that maybe an entrepreneur or a small business owner does not take advantage of, that you always seem to be pointing people in that direction? Like, hey, look into this outside of the CDFIs.
There's lots of federal grants available, but again, that is a process. You have to learn, you have to get certain certifications to be eligible for those. You have to have certain DNS number and all those kinds of things to be eligible. I also think that there are a lot of organizations, entrepreneur support organizations like mine. Many of them offer non-diluted grant funding. Check out Build In Tulsa. Check out some of these other entrepreneur support organizations that are really there to help. And they are offering not just investment funding, but non-equity, non-dilutive. They don't take a piece of your company type of grants and awards that can help you get on your feet. I also think that, pitch competitions can be a significant source of funding. I talked to someone just yesterday who had raised $1.3 million from pitch competitions, and that's taking no equity in her business. The only equity is sweat equity. You do have to find the pitch competitions. You have to apply. You have to get really good at pitching. And so you're honing your skills. You're honing your presentation skills. You're refining your business model, and you're getting cash that you don't have to give up a piece of your business to receive. So I think that there are quite a few sources, but I think pitch competitions is a really great one because it also asks you to hone your skills while you're getting that cash.
Well, but speaking of that, Build In Tulsa has a few pitch competitions, right? Especially with women.
Yes, we do. We have a variety of pitch competitions. Our longest running one is actually one that's focused on women because women are still underrepresented in the industry. But Female Founders Pitch Night, we're rolling into, I believe, our 9th one since Build In Tulsa started. I think we've given away, the top award is $10,000. So we've given away upwards of $100,000 just in pitch competition prizes alone. And the great thing about our pitch competition is that it comes with training. We don't just throw you up on a stage Shark Tank style and see if you sink or swim. We actually provide you with 8 to 10 hours worth of training. You learn how to do a pitch deck. You learn about the components of your business model that you need to include. And there's lots and lots of practice and one-on-one support. So even if you don't win the contest, you're still walking away with some significant training and some significant education that can prepare you on your future entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah. You mentioned a key phrase. You said sweat equity, right? And that leads me to my next question here, and I'll let you wrap up in a bit because you're at Martha's Vineyard, and I know you want to get back to the sun, Ashli. You don't want to be talking to me all day. But you've seen enough of them right now, and I that's why I love to ask you this question. What's the difference between a good entrepreneur and a great one?
grit, and I really think coachability. And that may sound a little counterintuitive, but grit means that you keep at it. You do not stop. Even you hear, instead of hearing no, you hear not yet. But coachability means that you're willing to question your own assumptions, that you're willing to challenge what you believe to be true to get better at your product or your service. And I think you have to be just dogged about product market fit. You have to make sure that you are serving your customer the best you can in the best possible way. And to do that, you've got to be willing to listen to feedback. You've got to be willing to look for what you didn't think was going to be the outcome or that you thought you were going to get. And you have to be able to learn from that. So, you know, to quote my inspiration, Miss Catherine Finney, she talks about build, measure, learn. And so you have to build the product, you have to measure those outcomes, and then you have to learn from them. And to me, that all is boiled into this idea of coachability. So I would say grit and coachability. That's the difference between good and great.
Yeah. You know, I got a phone call from a friend, and I'm not going to expose the individual, but it was a great conversation because it led me into thinking how I wanted to ask you. Because there might be more people out there like this particular individual. What advice do you give that younger Black entrepreneur, small business owner right now, someone who may have the business, they're in a little bit of debt, maybe living with their parents, right? And they want to get out to grow their business. They may be looking for some grant money, but they're looking not to get to too much debt. As we mentioned, people are fearful of that. But, you know, as I told this individual, you got to break out of it because that's what happens. You know, debt is what builds things. And they're just in that transitional phase where they're not trying. What do you advise that entrepreneur, that small Black business owner who sees the opportunity but may be afraid to jump?
I really do think that enrolling in a program, that an accelerator type program that is cohort based can really make a huge difference for that individual. First of all, you're not alone. Yeah. You realize that there are other people that are in the same struggle with you. You can learn from those who may be a little further ahead. You can help somebody that maybe is a little further behind. But that cohort model is, I think, so important in the growth and development of you as a founder and CEO and for your business. And I think that you have to be, like I said, really dogmatic about your customer, identifying who your customer is, talking to your customer. My director of programming, Desiree Frison, always asks entrepreneurs, have you talked to 100 of your customers? 100 people who you want to use your product or service. Have you talked to them? And then have you really listened to their feedback? Are you solving for their pain point? Or are you solving for an imagined pain point? I think these are the tools, and this is the kind of things that accelerators will talk to you about. These are the tools that you need to deploy if you really want to be successful as a small business person.
Yeah. You just said a lot of things there, right? We talked about sweat equity, right? We talked about building the damn thing. There was a lot of jewels that you dropped there, right? But if you saw that one person, right, you got an Uber waiting for you and it's getting to that 5-minute mark and you don't want to get charged, and they ask you, out of all the things, all those jewels you just dropped, what's the most important one? Is it that sweat equity that you take out? What's the key advice you would give the entrepreneur? Then the Uber's waiting, he's beeping the horn. What's that one thing you would tell him before you get in because you got to go?
Be sure of your customer and your business model. It all comes down to, how do you make money? And so if you can drill down on that, then you have a potential for a successful business.
Absolutely. Another potential of how you grow your business, right? And people, they give me the side face when I say it, because I mean it when I say it, but I laugh because I'm like, man, you're missing the energy. I tell them, y'all may need to think about going to Tulsa and moving there for a little bit, right? I've lived in Portland, Oregon. I've lived in San Antonio. I know how it feels to live outside of a big city because you get a chance to focus and think about your business. And I always tell them, listen, go to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Take a few and just go and learn and build. You can always move once you get your business built, but go down there. They don't believe me. They think I'm joking. They think I'm just pumping it up because I was down there. It's Black Wall Street. I try to tell them, but Ashley, listen, we can laugh about this all day, but seriously, if you had to give a person 3 reasons why they should move to Tulsa, why they should maybe even join Build in Tulsa, right? to reset their business, to go down there to grow, to learn, to see how people put their boots on and strap them up and really get to it down there, right? That sweat equity that they put in Tulsa, I see it myself, right? What would you tell them? 3 reasons why they should consider Tulsa, Oklahoma.
I think the first reason is community. There is a community of diverse entrepreneurs, Black entrepreneurs who are doing the same thing that you're trying to do. And there is something about being surrounded in community that helps make the struggle a little easier. I think the second thing is resources. Build in Tulsa, and along with a lot of our partners, are committed to providing resources to Black entrepreneurs to help them grow their business. Everything from literal funding, literal cash, cost of living support while you're in an accelerator program, as well as introductions to other folks in town, introductions to potential customers, introductions to potential hires. Yeah. And then thirdly, I would say history. Tulsa is steeped in this beautiful history of Black Wall Street. You are literally standing on the shoulders of giants in Tulsa. The entrepreneurial spirit is running free in the streets of Tulsa today, but it comes from a place. It comes from a place in the 1920s where this thriving, prosperous Black community existed, where this was the land of the most Black millionaires of anywhere else in the country. That is the history of Tulsa, and that's the legacy you can walk in if you come visit us.
Absolutely. Some great steaks down there, right? I mean, there's a lot of people down there with a lot of money that's willing to share. And listen, if you're bored and you might not, it's not a party city, but if you need some activity, they do got some stuff. And listen, there's Dallas, there's Houston, everything is right there. I love Tulsa, Oklahoma. You know that, Ashley. I love you. I love talking to you. National Black Business Month. Thank you so much for the time. Enjoy Martha's Vineyard. And remember, now I got to even remind myself, I got to go get that book, right? Build the damn thing. I got to go get it.
Thank you so much, Jabari. I appreciate it. It's great talking to you as always.
Absolutely.